take a ride, bullshit a little bit. I haven't been riding as much as I said I was going to. I haven't been riding as much as I wanted to, and I haven't been vlogging because of it. I guess that's what I want to talk about today. So let's go talk about it. So I've been riding on the road since about 2006, and even before then, motorcycle riding was something I was really interested in and excited about. I've owned ATVs and dirt bikes and stuff. I never made the leap until I was divorced and basically single again, and bought my first motorcycle, 2006 Dyna Wide Glide, and I've had numerous motorcycles since then, but it's always been something I've been passionate about. To be truthful, motorcycle riding is something that I feel is in my blood. It's in my heart and soul. It's probably the only thing I can do that is something I excel at. Searching for words there, try to figure out what I was actually meaning before I said something inaccurate. But I'm not a sports guy. I'm not into throwing balls and catching balls and just playing any kind of sport. I'm tall and kind of lanky, long arms, I'm all elbows, so to speak, when I'm playing sports. I never got the skill set to be a good athlete. So over the years I just shied away from that. So I learned how to ride a motorcycle, and I immediately took to it like the old proverbial fish to water, pig to mud. It's me to a motorcycle. I used to ride all the time, single, by myself, in a group. I was on two wheels. If it was 40 degrees or warmer, if there wasn't a bunch of ice or salt on the road, I was riding. I would work third shift. I'd leave my house at 10 o'clock at night, ride 45 minutes through the mountains of central PA to my job, where there was hardly a street light anywhere, and deer and foxes, bear and coyote always on the road. I didn't care. I took that risk and I rode. I rode in pouring down rain. I rode in blistering heat. I rode in cold weather. Believe it or not, if you have never experienced it, 40 degrees on a damp night riding to work, it's a pretty cold experience. I remember wearing gauntlet style gloves up past my wrists and having to put my hands on the engine periodically to warm them up so they didn't hurt so bad. For many years, my life goal was to move into a touring style motorcycle and see the country on it. It still is in some ways a dream of mine now. It's not so much a goal, it's more of like a pipe dream. But I've never attained that, and I've never got to that position. And I still have not seen most of the country. Even in a car, I've not seen most of it. I've only seen the precious few states. And I don't ride hardly at all anymore. I used to ride a minimum of 8,000 miles a year. Now if I put 2,000 or 3,000 on, it's a busy riding year for me. And it's tough to handle that. And I'm not blaming anybody. It's just me. I've become somebody I never thought I'd become. I need to change that. I need to start making decisions that reflect the things that are exciting and the things that I'm passionate about again. I miss that guy, and I'm still missing out on one of my biggest dreams and goals of my life. I need to change direction a little bit. I feel like one of the changes that needs to be made is for me to go out and make the purchase of the touring motorcycle. I've been talking about it literally since I bought my first bike in '06 when the Street Glide came out. I wasn't at a place financially where I could afford one, so I just never bought one. And a lot of people will say, oh, you don't need a touring bike. You can ride on your cruiser. Well, half the people that say that are riding touring bikes. The other half of the people that say that have never ridden a motorcycle further than the Starbucks or the local bike night and back home. It's the difference between driving around in your mid-sized or smaller SUV versus the full-size SUV, or maybe a full-size truck, or something like that. Car people don't understand why people buy touring bikes. They don't get it. They just think a motorcycle's a motorcycle. Well, if you think that, then your little Hyundai Sonata or Hyundai Tucson would be the same as a Chevy Tahoe or a Suburban or whatever full-size vehicle you want to buy to travel in. It's like a pop-up camper versus a 53-foot motorhome. They both basically do the same thing, but there is so much difference in comfort level that they're almost incomparable. I mean, I'm not going to ride the Sturgis, I'm not going to ride the West Coast on my Kingpin with 2 weeks worth of gear bungee corded to it. That sounds like a nightmare to me. I know people do it. I don't want that. So, to get on with my goal, in my mind, a touring motorcycle is essential. And we are still in the heart of the coronavirus BS pandemic, where half the government officials are trying to destroy the economy to make Trump look bad. And by shutting down states and businesses, it's slowing my job down, as mentioned in another video that I did last week. So for me to walk into a dealership and sign on the dotted line is something that I'm a little nervous to do. So essentially, I've already written it off for 2020. It's not going to happen. And it really stinks. I think also part of my dilemma and my lack of riding is the fact that my wife is deathly afraid to ride. She says it's not that she doesn't trust me. She doesn't trust traffic in general. She is afraid of being on the road exposed on a motorcycle. And I respect that. I'm not mad at her. I wish it wasn't that way. But such is the case. Here we are. So with my wife being scared to death to ride, I feel like I shouldn't or I can't go on week-long road trips and let her behind. I don't feel like that would be the prudent thing to do. It wouldn't be beneficial to a relationship. And being through the divorce scene before, I don't want to do it again. So I feel like I'm kind of stuck in the middle of preserving a marriage while watching my hopes and dreams dwindle further and further away. It's difficult to watch. But even if my wife and I could come to an agreement that would benefit both of us somehow, and I go get a motorcycle, I still struggle with spending so much money on a Harley or an Indian. And I say those two because those are the two iconic American-made motorcycles. I love my Victory, but I'm not going to get another one without having the support of a manufacturer behind it. I don't want that headache anymore. I love the Yamaha Eluder, but as a red-blooded American patriotic person, I feel like supporting American companies is the patriotic thing to do. We are literally in the middle of a new Cold War, in my opinion, with China. And sure, Yamaha is a Japanese company. It's not Chinese, but it's still a foreign-made product. There are still plenty of tariffs on American products that go into places like Japan and Europe and all over the world. So to support a company that's not an American company, to me, is a very unpatriotic thing to do. I live in a winter state, northern Ohio. I live, and I've said it before, like 30 minutes off of the shores of Lake Erie, so we have a lot of cold, wet weather up here. A lot. That's part of why I don't ride as much as I would like to also, but for me to go drop even 20 grand, say you buy a used Harley or a used Indian that's all decked out for touring with low miles, you're still going to spend 20 grand or more on it. And to do that living here is a tough decision for me to make. As much as I want it, and I probably want it more than I want about anything in the world, I still can't get past the thought of it. I guess if Shelly and my wife rode with me, I would do it because we could surround our summers on it, and we could haul it to Florida in the winter, and we could haul it to Arizona in the winter and make trips and vacations out of it all the time. That's part of why I can't make myself drop the kind of money that I want to on it. So I'm right back here again, watching my dream slip further and further away of becoming a reality. It's frustrating. It's internally frustrating. I don't blame Shelly. I know she's probably going to watch this and get upset. I don't blame her. I don't blame me. It's just status of life. I want to ride more. It's in my heart to do it, but it's also in my heart to spend my time not at work with my wife and building a life with her. How do I make both of those things work? How can I make both of those things work? I'd love like hell to be in Sturgis right now, taking in the sights and sounds and riding the Black Hills and seeing the sights of that part of the country on a motorcycle. I would absolutely love to be there. Don't know that I ever will. and it's hard to swallow. So I just had to get out and vent. Whoever watches this, maybe you'll share in my misery with me. Maybe you think I'm nuts and soft-hearted. I don't know. I don't know what you think. I don't know what anyone else thinks. Don't know I really care. But I know I had to get it off my chest. I had to talk. I had to just ride and vent. So thanks for riding along, guys. Whoever watches this.